Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine for a second that the biggest threat to living a life guided by, wisdom and reason isn't some huge moral collapse,
Right.
but something way more subtle.
Yeah.
Like the tiny, almost invisible habits you repeat every single day.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly the core idea we're diving into with this source today.
So we're looking at these seemingly insignificant moments.
Exactly. Not the massive decisions, but the small stuff. And the central mission here is really to get our heads around the source's argument that these small things are actually incredibly important.
Maybe more important than we think.
Perhaps, yeah, in shaping our character and, crucially, keeping us connected to reason.
And the source starts with this great line, doesn't it? The one that really hit home for the author. Small things are beautiful reminders of whether our values, actions, and emotions are truly aligned.
Yeah, that framing, it just sort of flips the script.
It makes it very practical, very everyday.
It does. And it links back to that quote the source pulls out from Marcus Aurelius, talking about his teacher Apollonius.
No.
Look to nothing else, not even for a moment, except to reason.
So the big question the source is wrestling with is, well, does that connection to reason, that commitment Marcus talks about, does it fade away, not because of some spectacular failure, but because we just let it slip through tiny, unchecked habits almost without even noticing?
Precisely. Can reason erode bit by bit, like water smoothing a stone? That's what we're going to explore, digging into the specific examples the source uses from Stoic thinking.
Okay, showing how these little things can either strengthen our link to reason or, well, slowly chip away at it.
Exactly.
All right, let's get into these small things. First up, the source points to gossip as something quietly damaging.
Gossip. Yeah. It feels so normal, doesn't it? Just chatting about other people who did what.
Seems pretty harmless on the surface.
You'd think so. But the source argues it's anything but. This habit slowly, kind of sneakily, trains you to criticize, compare, and judge from a distance.
And that's where the problem starts.
That's the erosion, yeah. The source's point is, over time, that little buzz you might get from dissecting others, from sorting their actions into right and wrong.
When it's got nothing to do with you.
Exactly. It starts to take up the mental space where reason should be focused, which is on your own thoughts, your own actions.
So these repeated acts, they actually change your perspective.
They do. And the source uses pretty strong language here, saying they can gradually turn you into empty people.
Wow, empty people.
Yeah, people whose inner world is kind of hollow because all their attention is pointed outwards, judging.
The source brings in that Epictetus quote here, doesn't it? Don't be troubled by what is not your business.
Which is the perfect counter. It really makes you think. Why pour your mental energy, your focus, into stuff that's ultimately outside your control?
Things that have zero bearing on your own path.
Right. Dwelling on other people's business. I mean, doesn't that just pull focus from the much more important job of working on your own character?
Makes sense. Okay, so moving from how we treat others in these small ways, the source then looks at how we treat ourselves, specifically trading long-term value for short-term pleasures.
Yeah, those little everyday indulgences, like grabbing a snack when you're not actually hungry, or getting lost scrolling on your phone way past when you meant to stop.
Clicking just one more video, yeah, we all do it. They feel tiny.
Negligible, even. But the force makes a pretty compelling case that they slowly erode your sense of discipline and self-awareness.
How so?
Well, think about it. Every single time that impulse, that little want, wins out over your conscious decision, your should, you're basically practicing letting desire drive the bus instead of reason.
Ah, okay.
And the source argues, if you make these small concessions again and again, it weakens your ability to make the harder, more virtuous choice when a real challenge shows up. You've let that muscle get weak.
The source mentions Seneca here, right? About bodily comfort being fleeting.
Exactly. That without self-restraint, those little comforts often just lead to feeling worse later on, maybe regret.
Whereas virtue, even if it's tough in the moment,
it offers something lasting, like a real sense of satisfaction, clarity about why you're doing what you're doing, and genuine long-term peace. The source really puts the question to you. Is that a trade you want to keep making?
Swapping that lasting peace for a quick, fleeting hit of pleasure. All right, let's swing back to interactions with others. The third small thing the source flags is being maybe too harsh about minor flaws in people.
Oh, yeah. We've all felt that little spike of irritation, right? When someone's habit just rubs you the wrong way, or the way they say something.
A small imperfection you kind of zoom in on.
And the source says how you react to those little things says a lot about you. It suggests maybe you're too quick to judge everyone by your own personal yardstick.
So it makes you question yourself.
It forces you to ask, am I using my judgment, my reason, for my own growth and understanding? Or am I just using it to find fault, to sort of implicitly punish others with my criticism, even if it's just internal?
And the source offers the Stoic alternative.
Yeah, instead of fixating on what's wrong with them, ask yourself, okay, how could I help make things better here? Or maybe just understand.
That connects to the Marcus Aurelius quote, "People exist for one another. You can instruct or endue them."
Right. And the source really highlights the different outcomes. If you try to help or even just patiently endure, there's potential there. For connection, for your own satisfaction, maybe.
But if you just criticize the small stuff,
What does that actually get you? The source points out it usually just brings bitterness, maybe pain, into your own experience. Why make enemies, internal or external, and suffer over tiny things?
good point. This next one feels really insightful and probably pretty common, ignoring small emotions.
You know, that little flicker of unease, or a faint wave of irritation, a tiny spark of resentment. It feels too small to really deal with.
The instinct is just, it's nothing, push through it.
But the source, drawing on Stoicism, argues strongly against that. It says every emotion is a message. Even the quiet ones are signals from your inner self, your soul.
A signal about what, though?
Well, that's the thing. If you ignore them, the source warns they don't just vanish. They can build up under the surface, sort of ferment,
And then?
and then maybe explode later, in a way that feels totally out of proportion.
The rational response, the Stoic way, isn't suppression, it's pausing, acknowledging it.
And getting curious.
Exactly. Asking, where's this coming from? What's it trying to show me? Maybe about my expectations or a conflict somewhere inside.
This sounds like Epictetus' idea about dealing with impressions, which the source mentions. Train ourselves each day to deal with impressions.
Precisely. And the source emphasizes this isn't just about external stuff you see or hear. It's about interpreting everything that pops into your mind, including emotions, as an impression.
So it's about applying reason internally.
Yes. This daily practice of interpreting these internal signals, especially the subtle ones, the source frames it as the real work of reason, applying it to your inner world, not just, solving external problems. Okay, finally, the source kind of ties this all together. It talks about a general lack of clear, rational review in just daily life.
Think about all those little actions you do on autopilot. Tossing clothes on the chair, pouring that extra coffee you didn't really need, wasting 5 minutes scrolling.
These seem totally inconsequential.
Right. But the source argues, if you actually look at them, they often reveal a basic lack of conscious awareness guiding what you do.
And why does that matter?
Because, and this is key, by letting habit or just inertia make those tiny choices for you, you're not actually engaging your ability to choose consciously, with reason. The source suggests you're weakening your muscles for making choices.
So if you don't practice choosing consciously in the small things,
How ready will you be for the big choices? Marcus Aurelius nails this. When actions are random, without aim or direction, the mind degrades itself.
wow, that's stark.
It is, and the powerful Stoic reminder here, according to the source, is that even the smallest actions can, and maybe should, be guided by purpose, aligned with your values.
And the payoff.
The source suggests a compelling one. When your small daily actions line up with your values, your emotions tend to follow suit. You get this greater sense of inner calm, of coherence.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together, the source's argument is pretty strong. These seemingly mundane daily acts, they're not just noise.
Not at all. They add up. Neglecting them isn't just about being a bit untidy or undisciplined. The source argues it directly hits your connection to reason, the integrity of your values.
And ultimately, your peace of mind.
Exactly, your inner peace.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the main takeaway from the source feels really crucial. The biggest enemy of reason, the thing that pulls us off track, it isn't necessarily big, dramatic emotions.
No, it's neglect. The neglect of these small habits, these subtle feelings, these everyday actions that seem too minor to matter.
And the source gives us two really practical questions for daily reflection, like a check-in. First, are my actions, even the little ones, actually aligned with my value, my virtues?
And second, what's this emotion trying to tell me? Even if it's minor. Is it maybe pointing out a conflict between what I say I value and what I'm actually doing?
Right.
The source makes a really compelling case that every small thing, every habit, every feeling it carries a story if you just take the time to look.
So could learning to read those daily stories